Hi everyone, Evette Rose here, and welcome to Finding Your Spirituality. And guys, I am so excited to introduce our guest speaker, Siddhartha Luciano, here with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So excited to have you. So guys, for those of you who don't know him, he was born in the Amazon, and then he actually started to become a doctor to understand how the mechanics of the body works. And then he went on to study yogic mysticism and also Ayurveda. He also became a quantum scientist, and also he studied herbalism and also Western and Chinese traditional medicine. But there's so much more about you that I didn't want to tell you in the intro, because he is going to unpack so much greatness and share with us a really beautiful story and also experiences, and you're going to take us right there. I'm so excited to have you here.
So excited to be here.
So happy. I've never actually met someone from the Amazon that was actually born there. So it's for me such a wonderful experience to be here in your presence and to learn from you and to hear what your story is, what your journey is like. I have thousands of questions for you right now. So, but tell me first of all, so you were born in the Amazon. Where specifically, from what area in the Amazon are you from?
So the country that I was born in is called Suriname.
Okay.
It's one of the Guianas.
Okay.
So the whole, let's say, green platform that especially Columbus sought to find gold in, because there was a legend of the king of El Dorado, who was bathing in gold, and they were seeking this land, and this is basically where I was born. It's it is the most forested country on the planet. Only 600,000 people are living there. It is the most biodiverse and bioculture, in cultures, diverse place on the planet.
Wow!
Because we have like people from everywhere. It's like it's really incredible. Like there's like in the forest there's various tribes that lived there before. There's the people that came in with the slave trade from Africa that started and fought themselves free and started their own tribes. There are people from India, people from Java, people from all the European countries. The oldest Jewish synagogue is there.
Really? Wow.
We have literally a street where there's like a mosque, a synagogue, a Christian church, and a Hindu temple just next to each other.
So diverse.
Yeah.
And do you find everyone is getting along really well with the diversity?
Yeah, there's always like
a quarrel.
some stuff that people need to find resonance with, but it's very special. We also have like national days that come from various cultural backgrounds. So we have like Holi Pagwa, Diwali from the Hindus, and then we have the Muslim Javanese festivities. There's the Christians, there's the other stuff. So it's you grow up with everybody. I grew up with a lot of people from different backgrounds, but also I was influenced a lot by, you could say, the Native American tradition.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I have quite a deep connection with the Amazon as well. With every student that comes to do my courses, we actually plant a tree in the Amazon for that student. So we call the movement Heal for the Planet. So it's also a way to kind of like give back, because it's also such a beautiful place that we actually rely on for the sake of surviving, and it's the very place that we're destroying the most. So yeah, that was also an effort to support that movement. Yeah,
unfortunately we live in an age of ignorance where there's a lot of things going on that
but that's something that you're not, and there's something very special about you. You've had a wonderful journey as well with awakening, with spirituality, and just based on everything that you're doing right now as well. Is this a state of consciousness that you were born with? Is this a level of awareness that you've always had with you? When did your spiritual journey start, or your awakening?
It started before I was born, actually.
Right.
Because I picked the moment and the vessel.
Yes.
But of course you're a baby, so you can't really do a lot. And then you have to wait until you have more abilities to do so.
Exactly.
And most of the times you have to deal with a, let's say, a species in where we now live that is not really very awakened. So there's a lot of, you know, like patience and yeah, you could say you have to deal with how the state of humanity is right now, right here. And so I had to go to several stages of my own personal, you know, you could say advance or progressing. That were not always very easy because of the state of, you know, where humanity is in now. And you could call those awakening states. Yeah.
So you would say and describe yourself as being someone that was very sensitive to people and people's reactions and perhaps their state of mind or their emotions and their energetic states?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh, wow.
But I cannot always tell people the truth because they will be offended.
Oh, okay. That, you know, that's really true, because sometimes people don't see it from a constructive perspective of, here's what I can see and here's how I can help.
Yeah.
They see it as an attack because of, you know, our lack of self-worth, you know, not knowing what their real true identity is, and the sense of identity defragmentation. And I can completely see that. It's because we come in with that intention to help, but people can't always see that.
Yeah, we have a situation on the planet. Yeah.
That's for sure. But something also that I experience with people, and something that I notice with me, is that even though I would see myself as someone that was born with quite a state of awareness, knowing and understanding perhaps that sometimes, like my dad was an alcoholic, he was very abusive, and there was a part of me that was in quite a place of acceptance of that, of understanding, and another part of me wasn't. But that part of me that was almost, I remember my mom said to me, let me put it like this, I was 4 and I said to her, you have to stop crying over him, he's broken. You can't fix him, he's broken. And that's what I said. And my dad literally died being the way that he was and the way that I knew him growing up. And what I noticed is that the more I started to heal my childhood trauma, the more aware I became. The more I could see, the more I could intuitively hear, and the more I could sense with people. Did you find that in your experience, that the more you healed your life, the more you address these challenges that people put in front of you by then perhaps not being in alignment with you, because that in itself can be a trauma? Did you find that as you perhaps embarked on your spiritual journey, and the more you dived into it and made it more as a daily routine rather than just an experience, but you made it your lifestyle, you immersed yourself into that your senses and your gifts opened up even more?
Yes. This is more, let's say, it becomes more clear if we understand what the problem actually is on this planet and with humanity.
Yes.
Because we are very intelligent, sentient beings, but we come in with a damaged DNA template as a child.
Yeah.
So the things that we are actually practicing as spiritual practices are actually very normal things to us.
Yeah.
There should be a normal way of us, growing, experiencing, and advancing as sentient beings. But because that has blockages, we are facing, the stuff that we are, that is basically preventing for us to grow naturally. And so on a healing journey, when we are healing basically the DNA templates or the DNA structure, we are actually reconnecting with what we are for real, a real being.
That's true. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And how would you describe, from your perspective, how do you see the challenges that we as humanity are facing right now? What is it that you feel is right in front of us now that we have to overcome in order to move forward, in order to, even from a biological perspective, to evolve? Because sometimes what I see with evolution is that when there's a certain pattern that keeps playing out and it doesn't strengthen that evolutionary line, it actually collapses. you start seeing it maybe coming forward in the form of maybe terminal illnesses where there's absolutely nothing that can be done with it. I see this as, people's DNA lineages that they're just saying, listen, this pattern, this habit, this diet, this mindset, this everything is not allowing this DNA lineage to grow. In certain ways of the evolution, just saying we need to restructure, we need to rearrange how we're going to move forward if we're going to survive in this DNA lineage. As an example, this is now from a biological perspective. How would you see this from a completely different consciousness perspective and also spiritual perception? Yeah.
So, on the external, on the outside, things look very complex because we have so many things to look at on the outside structures that are in the distortion. And we have a very complicated geopolitical issue that's going on. So if we focus on the outside, it sometimes even demotivates people from even trying. But on the inside, things are really simple. And if you basically learn how to move your senses inward until you come to a very still point, then basically you can, that's basically, I would say, the goal of all spiritual practices is to reconnect yourself with that part of you which is not being manifested yet.
Yeah.
And so whether you meditate or you heal or you seek truth, you always just want to come back to that still point where you have again the simplicity and the clarity of where to move and how to do things from a very, let's say, balanced perception, right? And within that still point, we find the connection with our, what some people say, higher self, or a consciousness of universal principles, or Christ consciousness, some people call it, because it's crystalline.
What do you call it?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay, so you're unbiased. It's just more about finding that space, and regardless of how you do it, as long as you just find it.
Yeah, it's really absolute stillness within you. And it doesn't mean that you have to silence everything. It's more than this. It's just that you have to somehow realize that it's there.
And how did you do that? How did you find that beautiful space?
Well, it's I kind of always had this. I think if you see baby photos of me, you see that I can be very, let's say, so what some people call meditative or still.
Yeah.
But there's many ways, and I think always find a way that resonates with you. I would not say do it as a routine or something, but do it as something that is joyful to you and something that is inspiring you.
Okay.
And if you look at yoga terms, which is a nice way to look at certain things because they made a whole science of metaphysics, right? So there's a whole, you could say, a whole culture of billion people really focused on the metaphysical aspect. And it was actually not really like you could say a religious structure. It was very scientific in the ancient days, right? It was like, so they have to reach that point of stillness, basically 6 basic principles. Yeah? So the first, they would say, they call this a japa. So it's like learning a mantra for yourself. So if you recite a mantra for a while, you start repeating it. At some point, you come into a point where you're not thinking anymore. It's kind of going like autopilot, right? It's
so
like a still point.
So a mantra, just for those of you who are new and don't know what a mantra is, can you tell us what is a mantra and what does it do? Like, what's the purpose of it?
Yeah. Well, the most easiest mantra that everybody really does and knows is Aum, right?
Aum.
So these 3 sounds, A, U, and are the 3 sounds that you can make without using your tongue. And like with colors, you can make with 3 colors, you can make all the rest of the colors. With these 3 sounds, you can make all the rest of the sounds, right?
Wow.
If you open your mouth, you already say right? So,
Yeah.
and then right? So you can see there's really a lot of people know this subconsciously. If you hit your foot or something, what do you say? Ow.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You actually, when you say ow, you're healing yourself. Right?
Okay.
Because Aum is creating a sound light frequency that restores your chakra. Right? So it's very easy.
Wow.
It's very simple. And then a lot of the mantras then will follow up with Aum, and then they will move with something different, so you can focus on different parts. But the Aum is already there. And it's being used in all religious structures too, you know. So people are using this in their prayers.
That's powerful. That's already such a powerful start. So that's step one.
Yeah. So that's one method.
Okay.
That's called japa, right? Then there's another second one we call tapa. Well, you can say that tapa is some form of restriction, like fasting or celibacy, or any type of thing, but you're kind of restricting yourself to a certain form to bring you in a state of meditation, right? And please be aware, meditation is inclusive. So when people sometimes say, I'm going to meditate, I always have to laugh, because you don't go meditate. You have to realize you're already meditating, right? You're inclusive of all things. So if a dog barks or a car goes by and so on, you don't get out of anything, because you're inclusive of all the sounds, all the expressions that are in that field, so you're part of that. Concentration is exclusive, so that's something that some people think that is meditation, but meditation is all inclusive. Yeah? Now, if you use your tapa, for instance, with fasting or no speaking or stuff like this, you have vipassana and so on.
Yeah.
You can come in very deep, realization of a meditative state where you are all inclusive of the whole expression of creation. So that's the second one.
Okay.
Then we have the third one. Is called dharana. So dharana is, I would say, it sounds like a galloping horse, like dharana. So dharana means that you're doing something in an action that puts you in a constant flow, which some people call the zone, right?
Right.
So let's say you're painting or you're dancing, and you come, and you're not thinking anymore where to, how to move. You're just dancing.
Right.
Now you're in a state of a meditative state, right? So now you're realizing your still point. Even if you drive your motorbike, I'm not like, some people will get this wrong, but if you're driving your motorbike and after a while you come home and you think like, how did I come here? Because you weren't paying attention anymore. It's because you were in a meditative state.
That's happened to me, and it scared me the first time when it happened. I was like, I'm being irresponsible. Like,
no, it's your autopilot.
Wow.
It's like your higher self takes over, puts your body into doing what it needs to do, and you arrive where you need to arrive, right? So
unbelievable.
These three methods are great, and you then will realize where your still point actually is. Even within the chaos, you still have stillness. Yeah, this is something else to realize. Yeah? Because all the expressions will have a point where they negate each other, and then this will be the 0 point of your, of your awareness.
Right.
Now, the fourth principle would be called jhani, and jhani is what people actually start to incorporate in modern times as meditation, because it's jhani is in Chinese chang, and in Japanese it becomes zen. So it means zen, which is concentration, focus. Right? So you can focus better once you, for instance, have done these three other methods, and you know where your still point is or how to get there. It's like when you get to your house at the first time, and you have to still find your way back because it's a new area.
Yeah.
So after a while, you know where it is. So after a while, you know where your still point is. You can go there, and you're in your concentration, right? So you concentrate, and you can use certain things, because the body is a treasure. You know, there's more than 112 chakras in your body, and there's all these different ways of how to reconnect your body in a certain way. Or if you cross your legs, you have more energy flowing to your brain, stuff like this. You know, or if you move your index finger and you connect with your thumb, you're activating the element of air, and so you're activating your mental.
And that's why people sit like that and meditate with their legs crossed.
So this is just for focus.
Wow.
Yeah? This is because every finger has an element to it. This is a fire element, activates everything. Air, akash or space, earth, and water.
That's incredible.
So if you need more space, you put this.
Oh.
If you're like, I need more space, you do this.
I love that.
And you're like, I need more grounding, you do this. And then you come down a little bit.
Perfect.
When you need to be more fluid, you do this. And this is activating it. And like with we have like electricity and plasma to our bodies.
Yeah.
So these have all like circuits on them. And the cleaner the circuitry is, the stronger the effect. So if you have a clean diet and you have your body in a clean state, you'll have a bigger effect. And some people won't feel it because maybe they have too heavy diets, or they have other stuff that is blocking them from really feeling. But the more sensitive, the stronger and the better it works.
This makes so much sense now, because I wrote a book called Metaphysical Anatomy Volume 1, which is like an 800-page book, which is one of my 7 books, but that's the one that people know me for. And the book that my assistant's sitting on, the chair she's sitting on right now, I actually imported that from LA here to Bali, because it's one of the chairs that has the biggest surface to sit on, and it's because I sit cross-legged all the time. Only when I'm doing my client sessions and when I'm writing. Otherwise, my legs are normal, but it's just spontaneously I would pull myself up and sit like that. It's incredible, but it's almost like the body just knows what it needs. The programming is there, but we just don't always understand because of that relationship that's sometimes a little bit not nurtured enough to understand what it is that we're spontaneously doing and why we're doing that. So that's why I do that. That's wow.
Yeah. This body, I would not directly call it a vehicle because it doesn't honor it enough, but it is in some way a vehicle for your atmic sparks or your soul spark. Yeah. And so if you understand how this vehicle works properly, you can do a lot of amazing things with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So are there more points? So apart from sitting with the fingers, what else is there? I'm so excited now. I love this. This is great.
Yeah. So very important to understand with the 5 fingers is that they connect to elements. Yeah?
Right.
And so you can, but then each of the fingers have 3 segments. So there's 12 segments, 15 in total. And this is, you can then basically use each of those segments. Same like how basically astrology works. Each element has 3 segments, and then you have 4 basic parts, and then you connect them and activate them. In truth, once you're on your spiritual path and you start to see that it is actually that there is a science behind it, then it becomes really fun. And then you start to understand that you as a being are actually limitless. You can keep growing, expanding, and let's say discover, what life is really about, and that's really fun. That's basically what motivates on the spiritual path the most. And when that is understood, then there will be enough life force within the body to use, within the consciousness field to use. And when there is enough energy, we call this bliss, because the more energy we can have as, you know, working for us in a very balanced and beautiful way. It doesn't come from, you know, any negative harvesting or something,
so
but
true.
very, very naturally, the more blissful we are, the more inspiration we have, and then we become creative, right? And creative means that you're the creator. Now you and what people call God or something is one being, because you're creating.
And it's also like in a moment like that where you feel resourceful, because when we feel resourceful, that is when we feel like we're in that bliss state, like you're completely in your element right now. There's a question I want to ask you, and I want to backtrack to something that you said earlier about finding that stillness, finding that place of just calmness. Now, what happens is a lot of people actually are quite scared of finding that place of stillness because, and I've heard people say this, saying, wow, you know, I try to meditate or I try to find that space, and then I have all these emotions coming up, because when we go into that place of stillness, sometimes the body takes that as an opportunity of like, wow, you're finally quiet. You're listening. I need you to take care of this, please, because you're not listening to me. You know, that's what the body does. And then we associate that moment of maybe anxiety or that moment of feeling something heavy coming up as being bad. And then people associate meditation as not being good or not being healthy. But it actually is. That's the point of where the body is now finally trying to communicate to us. What advice can you give to people who might feel a little bit confronted with that silence, and then suddenly they feel, oh, I feel my heart's beating really fast. I feel the anxiety now. Now I feel like, oh, all these emotions coming up. What do I do with it? What do we say to them? Because there's quite a lot of them out there right now. And I know this was me also a few years ago when I started to meditate, and I'm just like, oh my God. Meditation is supposed to be nice, and it's not. And it's like, you know, what do we say to these people? How can we get them to make that transition?
I would say to those people, first of all, don't give up and be patient and take things one step at a time.
Yeah.
Don't expect everything to, you know, like be that you will reach your highest potential in one day. Actually, I don't even believe that there's something like a highest potential, because the more you go up, the more you see there's more potential. So it's actually unlimited potential that you have. There's no such thing as highest or lowest. It's all fluctuations of where you stand at the moment.
Love it.
And if you don't give up and you really, really love yourself, then you will reach a point that will really be like worth, you know, like, you know, you just break through a certain level, and you come to a point where it really becomes enjoyable.
I love that. And it's exactly, and it's correct. It's absolutely true what you said. That was also my experience when you just stay persistent, and to see that it's not that the body is against you, it's for you, because because I'm all about the biology of the body. I love the body.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wrote that book.
miracle.
I'll show you the copy later about metaphysical anatomy, and it's about coming back into the body. It's about meeting the body, because right now we're having a physical experience. We're not somewhere else other than outside of the body. We're actually having a physical experience, and the more we can make peace with that, the more that we can see this as a beautiful process, and that the body is all for you. It's really truly trying to support us. And when there's an element that's coming forward, that's the body saying, I don't have the resources that I need to get you through this next phase that you need to step into. We need to shift this, whether it's a karmic, you know, a completion from the ancestors, whether it's a DNA lineage pattern that needs to be completed right now. Maybe it's a certain thought process or certain emotional pattern that you have that is, you know, not in alignment with where you need to go. That's the body's way of saying we need to shift this. And people always see that as the body is letting them down, but it's actually not doing that. It's just saying, here's something that needs to shift. And it's not always something that you are doing wrong. Sometimes it can be your ancestry coming through, and it's saying we need to cleanse the DNA lineage from a certain pattern, from a certain thought, from a certain ancestral trauma that keeps creeping up again and again and again, that needs to be healed. Because at the end of the day, one of many reasons, but that's how I see elements playing also a purpose in terms of helping us to evolve from a biological perspective. And talking so much about the body, how would you say to people they can start to build and strengthen their relationship with the physical body? And it's almost like allowing our consciousness, right, our awareness to befriend this physical vessel, because it's the body's sole purpose to keep you alive. Its sole purpose is to help you to achieve your dreams, your greatness here in the physical form, because this is where our experience is. It's right now.
That last bit is really the key.
Right.
So I think the most powerful tool for healing is the realization of the here now. And if people can really just be in the moment, this is where you will be one with what we call the divine. If we start looking too much in the past or thinking too much about the future, we're actually being pulled out of this, centered point. And there's where a lot of basically, you could say, friction starts to happen within the energetic body.
So true. It's so true, because we're such advanced beings, and then we come into this physical body, and it's a bit like, imagine like someone with a Ferrari mindset, and now you climb into a little Beetle, and it's like, where's the fifth gear? Where's the automation now? Why can't you go 300 miles an hour? Damn it! And that's kind of like what it feels like. I like to bring humor into things that sometimes can be quite stressful and just like, what do we do with this? And at the end of the day, that little Beetle is not going to overnight shift to the Ferrari complex. It actually has to be nurtured. It has to be dealt with in a way that is to its capacity. And that means with this beautiful enlightened states of consciousness that we have coming into the physical body, it's up to us to learn and understand what is the physical body's limitations, because we're trying to push a vessel beyond its capacity, and because it doesn't move beyond that capacity, we punish it. We punish it with, strenuous workout or long hours of working, or maybe alcohol or smoking or drugs, or because we feel impatient with it.
Yeah, or that's sometimes a deeper psychological trauma that's not being expressed enough.
Yeah.
The body is an expression, and it has different density layers to it. Right? It's basically one of the most miraculous designs that we can imagine. If you really study any type of body, but the human body especially, because we have some things that other species don't have, it's an absolutely incredible gift. So if somebody gives you that Ferrari, you're not going to, just not either use it or drive it against a tree the first day.
Yeah, right.
But you're going to appreciate it. But now you have a vehicle or an expression of you that is not just stuck. It evolves. And the more you understand of how it actually works, the more you can actually shape it to your liking.
Pimp it up, as they would say,
You can pimp up the body to quite some incredible features, because you don't just have one body, actually. You have a couple of them, and you can start, practicing with the other ones too.
Now you have to tell more about that, because you kind of like got me there. I'm like, tell us more.
So there's a couple of different practices that you could study to know more about this, but I'll just talk about a few of them. So basically, you have a physical dense body, but you also have a lesser dense body. Some people will call this an astral body or a protoplasmic body, right?
Okay.
And some people call this a dream body. Now you can consciously train yourself to use your dream body. So you can actually use it to go and travel or to go and live a life on the other side of your, your senses. So you have a dream body. You actually have like 5, to begin with, 5 different ones. You have one that looks quite like you, which people see when they see ghosts and stuff.
Okay.
This is basically your less dense body. And if there's anyone scientific out there that says, well, that's just superstition, then I would say like, well, if you study science, then you know that we have different, substances that are less dense. So if you look at the body, you have, let's say, more carbon, silica-based, structures, but you also have a lot of liquids. And you have a lot of gases. And those gases, if you refine them, you have basically the ethers, right? So if that is all, if you breathe and if you have liquids and everything, that means you exist on many different levels.
Right.
If you would basically separate all the liquids, you take a scan and you take all the liquids and make a separate scan from them, you have a different level of your body, right? If you take all the gases, you make a scan of it, you'll see all as a gaseous being. Now what people call a ghost is then basically a more gaseous expression of you, right?
So that's the expression of someone, for example, that's passed away. Is it similar when they come forward to communicate with you? Is that what we're connecting to, or?
Yeah, so the structure that is operating, animating those bodies is a spark, a conscious spark. Yeah? Normally it likes to sit right here.
Okay.
Yeah, so just here, if you have your sternum, just where you have the first indent,
right.
If you press on there, that's really your true spiritual heart. Yeah? Some people think your heart is on the left, but the heart is really right there. And the sternum is why it's called the sternum, because star is a star. And so it's your soul star, right? So it's your soul star, vehicle, throne of, you could say, this is the throne where your soul likes to beat from. Yeah?
It's so interesting that you should say that. I actually did not know that, I have to admit. But what's amazing is that I sometimes find that after a stressful day, I spontaneously just sit and I tap here.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why, and I would just sit like that, or with my hand, and I'll just tap.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in Sanskrit, that star is called the Atma. Yeah, Atma. Now, At means father, and Ma means mother. So, father, mother come together. The word atom, an atom, right, the smallest part of a physical substance, is coming from this word, Atma. Yeah?
Right.
In German, you would say if you breathe, you say Atmen. So you're breathing. So why are we breathing? Is because this soul spark splits into a, let's say, a plus, which is a father, more solar, and a minus, which is a little bit more lunar. Right. And it splits and becomes a polarity and then comes back. This is breathing in and out.
Right.
This is because your soul spark is splitting, polarizing, and then recombining again. And that creates your heartbeat too. So basically your central intelligence of your being is speaking through your heart. It's not your heart itself, the heart is the vessel. Right. It has 7 layers of incredibly interwoven muscle that create all the rainbow colors. And in the center, there's a very thick nervous system called the nerve of Purkinje, they call it sometimes, because that is the scientist that discovered it here in the West. But it looks like a tree. And it looks like a tree that has a T shape, right? Or it looks like the hammer of Thor in Norse, Norse mythology, the god of thunder, Thor.
Yes.
It looks like the hammer of Thor. So actually, that's Thor's hammer that is creating like electricity in the heart. But in the center of that is the atmic spark. And the atmic spark can travel. So it can travel to several different places in the body, and then interfaces with different consciousness. The skull is a palace, basically. The center of the skull, all the bones have a certain vibration to it. So basically, when you start to understand and study the body and the metaphysical anatomy, you are really discovering your true gift as a living being, because you have everything within you. And this is so amazing with spirituality. Once you start to embark on it like that, first you have to sometimes go through the traumas and so on and clear it all up and see that it doesn't really help to focus your energy on them too long. Clear them up and focus on how am I functioning when I'm happy and healthy. This is your focus point. This is something I discovered a lot when I was studying to become a doctor in university. When we had a college about diseases, and there's so many of them in the books, everyone would get sick because it's like a placebo. You start to imagine you have it, and then suddenly you get it, right?
Psychosomatics.
You read too many, how it should not be. And all these itises are just the same inflammation in a different part, right? Gastritis or whatever, bronchitis. It's the same itis, but in a different place. So don't focus on the itises and the disease too much. It's fine if you classify it at some point, but then focus on, okay, but how do I really function if I'm healthy? And what is this being actually capable of? And then it becomes so joyful, because you not just have one body, you have many of them, and they are not stuck. They have the limitations to a certain domain. The physical body has the limitations, as you said, don't push it to a certain level. But the astral body will not have that limitation. It could just run to this wall because it doesn't have the same structure. One level up, it will starting to look more like, let's say, a plasma blob. You won't see the features anymore. One level further, it looks like a crystalline sphere. And that crystalline sphere is what people call the Christ body. And that's also your body. So discovering these bodies and what they can do and how they interweave into one being, this is going to be a part of what we call ascension. Coming from the divine spark into like a seed of a tree or anything, into the darkness, not knowing anymore that you were once a star, and then growing up to become again now a living tree of light, and with now the experience of physicality, but still being the same conscious spark. And that should motivate anyone to keep going, and knowing that you cannot actually be stopped on your path unless you really harm others or yourself. And if you just come from a really clear, clean space, you have the permission to keep growing forever and ever.
That's, in a nutshell, I could not have explained or said that any better. But and I love how you take something that people sometimes overcomplicate and you just simplify it. And it's like, well, it's meant to be easy. That's kind of like what the message also is. Because we always think it has to be this, it has to be that, it has to be hard, I have to struggle. It has to be painful, I have to relive trauma, I have to all of this. No, you don't have to do anything of that. You just don't have to. I wanted to kind of just backtrack a little bit because you talked about astral travel. I'm like, ooh. Can you talk to us more about that? How did you find out that you're doing this, and when did this start for you? Was it something that just spontaneously started, or did you do a practice that helped you to move into that state and space?
So basically we're all doing it because we have dreams. And within the dream, sometimes it looks more vivid than another. And sometimes you have dreams that you can interrupt and wake up, go to the toilet and go back, and you go back to your dream. Right?
That's true.
So it's kind of like it continues also. So at some point you can practice a little bit more, let's say, lucid dreaming. Before, some people find a journal really helpful. So they have a little book before they go to bed, they will basically make an agreement. Okay, I will go there and there, and then if I do this, I will write down where I've been when I wake up, so they know, they remember their dreamings. Yeah. This is very helpful, right? I have to say one thing about astral travel in this time, right? Astral travel used to be a little bit more easy when we didn't have so many, let's say, electrical interferences. So if you are surrounded by a lot of electricity, or in a city, or using a lot of Wi-Fi and stuff like this, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So you will see that if you go to a very natural place, let's say you take a little retreat, suddenly your dreams come back, right? Yeah. So that's one thing. Another thing is that because some of the fields are a little bit distorted in this time, because of all the traumas that people are going through, and the traumas are actually sticking to the astral body, because that's the emotional body, right? So that's where you can see the gases and the liquids. When you get emotional, this is what is pumping, right? This is what is animating, like hydraulic system. That's basically protoplasma.
Awesome.
So that's why the emotions. So another, like, say, good reason to find your still point and being in the now here, like a child. Watch children. You take them from anywhere on the planet, put them together. After a couple of minutes, they have found a way to make themselves happy. They run around. They also they don't have that heaviness. We sometimes as grown-ups forgetting that we are having, and we are still a child. Plus, we have more, awareness. So why do we get so traumatic? No, just stay like the child in a way, but have more fun.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What a beautiful key takeaway as well, amongst everything that you said. That is so powerful. Yeah. It's powerful. Don't stop playing. Stay curious, because that's where we have our breakthroughs. That's where the great things are happening. That's where your future self will say, thank you for playing that day, because now I'm living this dream, or I'm seeing the fulfillment of what you started to create back then for me. It's very beautiful. Yeah.
I think this is what they call in the Vedic culture Leela, playfulness. Just that's the most beautiful way to do a spiritual practice. Keep playing. Even if you had a very difficult time in your life, which, in this age is something that happens a lot, don't forget to nourish this child in you and play and do something creative. Play music, go painting, go dancing, do all these things that make you happy.
Whatever makes you feel like you're playing, do more of that.
Yeah.
I love that. Can you also tell us, we would love to hear also, do you have any rituals on a daily basis that you do to help you to connect back to you, or to recenter yourself?
I actually see everything that I do as a ritual, and everything I do as a yogic practice.
I love that.
And I integrate it in everything I do. So if I would drink something, I would think about my breath, or know how to move things. If I wake up and look at the sun, this is my ritual at that moment. So I try to keep things very dynamic. Otherwise, there is sometimes a little, you could say, a little danger what happens if you keep repeating things. It becomes a routine, and then you kind of take out the spirit out of things, because the spirit doesn't have routines. It's everywhere, anywhere, at the same time. It has no time even. The real spirit has no time. The physical body has time. That is what creates the different densities. But if you have a routine or something, also break it at some point. If you keep doing some things for the rest of your life, it can become a dogma. And that's happened sometimes with a lot of spiritual practices, where you look at some of the practitioners and you think like, wow, but you don't look happy anymore. What's going on? Why you keep doing the same thing over and over again? No, the spirit is something. It's a rebel. It goes It wants to, it wants to, it's curious.
Yeah.
It wants to explore new things all the time.
Yeah.
So I live very much like that. Very much like every day in the moment. Sometimes I don't really know what day it is, what hour it is,
But that's good.
I meet exactly the people that I need to.
Yeah.
And I'm exactly at the place where I need to be.
Just like you are today.
Yeah.
So that we all can learn from you, because you've shared so much great, life experiences that you can't even learn in a book, and that is what makes you so tremendously invaluable, is to share that, and it's to bring that forward for people, who, especially coming out of COVID, especially coming out of lockdown. So many of us have turned to spirituality to cope with it. So many of us have abandoned our spirituality, thinking, wow, God, you failed me, or there's something that they feel betrayed them, because why are all these bad things happening? So I love what you piece together and what you shared today to help people to reignite that, to kickstart that, to move back into that. And even for those of you who are already in your spiritual path, how many great things just that we all learned here today that we can now implement on this continued path, because I'm seeing this path as something that just continues to expand and expand and expand and expand. And it's almost like doesn't even have an ending. Like it just continues to grow and evolve. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so with all this beautiful knowledge that you shared with us, it's just that path just continues to evolve. And we are all now in a much different place and space than what we were an hour ago. Like it's, so every day is a learning curve. And I can't thank you enough for being here with us today to share, to help us to learn and to understand, and to also just reignite our spirituality. It's a wonderful, beautiful process, and you made it sound so simple and easy, and it's because, guys, it is. It is.
Yes, this is the key. Simplicity.
Yeah. Simplicity.
Yeah, that's the key to awakening.
Find your stillness, play, and keep life simple. That's what, amongst so many things from you that I'm taking away, but if there's so many, even if it's just these 3 things that you can start to implement, wow.
Yeah.
That's a powerful path already. Yeah.
I would like to say something about the current situation.
Please, of course, please do. Yeah, please.
Thank you for.
I think it's needed. This is a platform where we can speak freely. Yeah.
So, everything that happens in reality is basically coming from the creative power that we all, have as human beings. And for some reason, people have accumulated the thought that we need to suffer first before we can be happy.
Yes.
And this needs to go.
Yeah.
Because
Amen.
everything that is, in our subconsciousness eventually comes out. And if we do that as a whole collective, this is what is happening on a planetary scale. All the fears and all the things that we are suppressing in our bodies and in our beings come out in this way if we think that we need to suffer. We don't need to suffer to find happiness. There's just happiness and happiness and happiness and joy and joy and joy. This is the truth. If you put your focus on this, and I'm not saying to deny that there is suffering. I'm not saying to spiritual bypass things. I'm just saying that if you want to see a better world, you have to come to the understanding that you don't need to suffer to reach a blissful state. This is something that we have to manifest all together. Yeah. And then you will see it will happen. It will happen first in your individual spaces, because it's a deep program. Don't underestimate it. It's a deep program of many generations already, that people think, I need to work hard, I need to suffer, I need to do this to come to a point where you can finally enjoy. This is madness. You need to focus on happiness, what makes you happy, and put all your life force on this to be a constant flow until all the old programs are, deleted from our timelines and from our beings. This is how we liberate the whole planet, because if we keep pointing fingers on the outside, which I understand, because there are certain structures that make life very difficult.
Yeah.
It might get, let's say, worse if we don't focus on the underlying programming that is creating this. The underlying programming is very simple. Do not manifest that you don't want to see. Don't think you need to suffer at all. It's not age of suffering. And this has come and creeped in all the religious practices, from Buddhism to all places, that people think you need to suffer. No, it needs to go. Don't suffer. Stop suffering. Start becoming a happy child again, and a happy individual, and make this a collective practice, and you will see it will start like a snowball rippling effect of energy, because no one can stop you as a creator. Only yourself. Only your fears and other things will block you. If you live by your fears, this will make you a slave to the fears. So don't go into empowering things that block you, but empower things that liberate you. And then you will see that your life will start to liberate, and collectively will do the same.
I love that.
And that's basically the challenge at the moment. Maybe this is the life experience lesson we need to go through as a humanity.
Yeah.
But again, it's not something that has to happen at all. It's now here, but we have to delete the programming from our subconsciousness, and then we can start to manifest step by step. You know, it doesn't have to be that this will happen. It could, but not everybody is easy enough to let go so quickly of certain patterns.
Yeah.
So step by step, little steps, patiently, persistence, like you said, and simplicity. Look what is important for you in life. Love, family, friends, nature.
Yeah.
You know, the very simple things, you know. The most enlightened beings are actually not most of the leaders that we see, but actually people that are on the street corner and having this incredible smile every day, and serving you food, or bringing you fruits, or helping you somewhere, or beautiful people that are everywhere on the planet that don't have to claim those titles. They just understand a very, very simple thing, that we are sentient spiritual beings, and that love is connecting us all. And this is basically your mantra, basically, for life.
I love that. Well said. And guys, we're going to leave you with that beautiful message. And honestly, the time is now. The time is now.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for your light, your energy, your support, and this beautiful space that you created here for all of us to learn and to experience, you know, life also through you, from your experiences as well, and things that we can now apply. Already starting applying that right now, and I'm so excited with some things that you already said that I'm going to be looking at bringing into my life as well, and to just continue to build that beautiful journey and just allow it to continue to expand and expand and expand. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for being here with us, and until next time, be the light that you are. Bye everyone.